Honestly, I want to go ahead and say goodbye.
Lauren Efford, aka Pumpkin, has not had it easy. She had to grow up really fast.
It's really hard because people have their own opinions, you know?
From taking care of her younger sister to dealing with financial struggles and teen pregnancy,
People can be cruel, some people can be nice, some people are supportive, some people aren't.
she's really been through a lot. But how does she actually feel about it all? Is she okay? Does anyone ever take care of her? Pumpkin is just 23 years old, which is crazy if you think about everything she's been through already. She never really got to be a proper kid because she had to take responsibility young. This was mainly because of her mom, Mama June. We all know that Mama June isn't exactly the most reliable parent out there, and she's never really been one, even though she has 4 kids. And this is why Pumpkin really had to step up and start taking care of things, even though she herself was still super young when it all came crashing down for the family. For one, Pumpkin actually first got pregnant when she was just 17 years old. Teen pregnancy is never easy, but what made this even worse is that Pumpkin didn't exactly have the best support system. Obviously, she and Josh Efford, the father of the baby, are now married. They're still together and they seem pretty happy, but things weren't always perfect between them. Even though they'd been together for 2 years before they welcomed their first child, Pumpkin and Josh still had their issues, which makes sense since they were both still pretty young at the time. Neither of them was probably super mature, but I also think that what might have contributed to some of their issues was their age difference. These days, a lot of people take issue with Honey Boo Boo, aka Alana's boyfriend, and his age. Draylon is about 4 years older than Alana, and they announced their relationship when she was 16, and Draylon was 20. It makes sense why a lot of people think this age gap is pretty inappropriate, but here's the thing, Pumpkin and Josh actually have a similar age gap. They're also about 4 years apart, and they actually got together when Pumpkin was just 15 years old, and they had their first kid 2 years later when she was 17. Josh was 21 at the time, which is still pretty young, but at least he didn't become a parent while he was still a teenager. And honestly, their age difference is pretty disturbing when you think about it. Why was a 19-year-old interested in a 15-year-old? It makes sense that they had their issues. Although Pumpkin did later say that parenthood actually brought them closer. She said that while she didn't condone teen pregnancy, she did think that maybe having a baby was what they needed in their relationship. It's good that they were able to grow closer, but I'm not sure if having a kid should be what fixes your relationship. That doesn't sound very healthy, and it just makes me feel really sorry for Pumpkin. She had to navigate all of that while being pregnant and still just a teenager. She did say that she always wanted to have kids young, but she admitted that she was thinking more along the lines of 24, not 17. What's also heartbreaking is that Mama June wasn't really there for her that much back then either. She was busy criticizing Josh for getting her daughter pregnant so young, which on the one hand is completely fair. Pumpkin was really young, but at the same time, I think she should have probably focused on her daughter more instead of complaining about her future son-in-law. But this is what it's always been like for Pumpkin. She's always had to deal with everything pretty much on her own. We all remember what happened in 2019. This incident led to Pumpkin actually gaining custody of Alana. In March of that year, it came out that Mama June and her then boyfriend, Gino Doak, were arrested in Alabama. They were arrested on substance possession charges, and things only spiraled from there. Despite Pumpkin's best efforts to stage an intervention for her mom, she still kept messing up. And in 2019, Pumpkin got temporary guardianship over Alana. She was only 19 at the time, and she suddenly had to take care of her sister just because their mom just really wasn't doing her job as a parent. It would have been irresponsible to leave Alana with Mama June, but it's still unfair that Pumpkin had to pay for her mom's mistakes like this. I'm sure she was happy to provide a safe space for Alana, but that doesn't mean it was easy, especially since she also had to deal with a lot of public scrutiny and criticism. Because that's another thing, Pumpkin has had to deal with so much over the years. It's clear that she's always tried to do her best, but that doesn't mean that she was always successful at that. I mean, what 19-year-old has a handle on everything? Pumpkin was always the one who had to step up and clean up everyone else's messes and sacrifice herself, but a lot of people thought that she wasn't doing a good enough job, which just isn't fair. She was still just a kid when everything started falling apart. She shouldn't have been held to such a high standard, especially considering that she never really had good role models in her life. So why did people expect her to be perfect? I'd say that despite all her flaws, she was still a better guardian to Alana than Mama June. She actually got sole custody of her sister in 2022, and her mom was ordered to pay her $800 a month in child support. But it wasn't just Alana that Pumpkin had to take care of. By that point, she also had 4 kids of her own, which means that she was only 22 years old, but there were 5 different kids depending on her. That would be a lot for anyone, even if they were older and more financially stable. And that's actually another thing, because on top of all this, Pumpkin has also struggled a lot with money. Allegedly, at one point, she even talked to Mama June about this. She approached her mom and told her that she was really struggling. Apparently, she couldn't even afford groceries, which must have been pretty terrifying. But Mama June didn't really take the hint. Supposedly, she just told Pumpkin that she should get on TikTok and make some money. And that's what she's been doing. Pumpkin has been criticized a lot for asking her followers for money, which on the one hand is kind of understandable. Most of her followers likely aren't exactly rich or famous, and it would probably make a lot more sense for her to just get a job. Although at the same time, she does have really young kids at home, and someone obviously has to take care of them. So I can see why she might be a little hesitant to look for full-time work, but she could probably still at least do something. It's also not clear exactly what her husband, Josh, does. We know that he's a mechanic, but we don't actually know much more about his job beyond that. Although I doubt that he makes a lot of money anyway. Reportedly, he's a high school dropout, so I don't think that his salary is super high. I mean, that much is clear since we know that he and Pumpkin have been struggling. At one point, Pumpkin even asked her supporters to send her formula and diapers for their children, which is honestly pretty worrying. I hope the kids are okay. I know that Pumpkin is probably trying her best, but maybe she should consider looking for a job. That being said, I think a lot of people have been kind of unfair to her. She's still in her early 20s. A lot of people don't have everything figured out at that age, and she's been through so much already. I think it's kind of impressive how responsible she's been. She's obviously not perfect, but she's trying. And maybe we should appreciate her for that, because she did step up for her family when someone needed to, which is really admirable. But what do you guys think about all this? What's your opinion on Pumpkin? Do you think she's trying her best, or do you think she should be doing more? Let me know in the comments below.